So which one's better, the sequel or the original? Nobody 2 or the original Nobody? Well, that question's been floating around in my mind since I saw Nobody 2 on Sunday, and really I loved both films, so it's going to be a very tight race either way with me loving both films, but I just kind of want to talk about which one edges out the other, and yeah, starting off with the original. So the original Nobody came out in 2021 featuring Bob Odenkirk, and it was kind of just this lightning in the bottle thing where you have Bob Odenkirk, which is playing this very unlikely action hero where you imagine Bob Odenkirk, you imagine the comedian, you imagine him as Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So then, what do you not think of? You probably don't think of, like, it's going to come straight to mind, action hero, badass John Wick level action hero. Well, that's what he's playing in this film, where basically after dropping all that, trying to start a family, he's basically ends up going back to his old ways of just being an absolute fucking badass and takes out all these guys, and it is just very interesting to watch this action. Again, Bob Odenkirk is a lot of fun to watch on screen as he is this very unlikely action hero, and you can see him portrayed like that just with people around him not taking him seriously until, you know, people start to figure out who he is, and then it gets serious, you know. Everybody's kind of just scared, you know. It starts from fighting him it starts from attacking him to them trying to get away from him after he kind of turns the tables, you know. It's very interesting. And so Bob Odenkirk's fun to watch. There's a great family dynamic here. And, yeah, it just felt very fresh and original. And yeah, let's move on to the sequel. And now moving on to the sequel is Nobody 2. So now this film has a very different vibe from the original, where it is a completely different director, and you can feel that watching it, where the action takes much more of an action comedy stance, which I think is really good. It adds a lot more substance to the action sequences, and it's like you have the bus fight in the original, which had this very distinct style, was shot very well, it's very compact action sequence where the choreography is great, Bob Odenkirk's fun to watch, and it takes that and it amps it up to where it is literally every action sequence. And it's not one of those cases where it's like, too much of a good thing is bad. No, it's amazing. The action is amazing. Again, you have that more of an action comedy stance while still maintaining the very bloody R-rated action of the original, so combining those two themes works very well. They're woven into each other very nicely. You have Bob Odenkirk, who's very fun to watch on screen, and okay, but I think they even out here by one very specific thing. While it does seem I'm being much more positive with the sequel, because there are a lot of things I love way more than I did in the original, there is one glaring issue with this film that just didn't exist in the original, where there is just this very odd sense of melodrama in the film between, like, Hutch, who has been out to work, barely is at home at all, so he doesn't get to spend much more time so he doesn't get to spend much time with his wife, with his family, and they try to integrate that sense of just drawing their broken relationship, him trying to fix it throughout the film. But again, this is an only hour and 29-minute movie, so really you are only given two choices. Either fully lean into the action, like the first one, or fully lean into that family dynamic. This movie tries to do both, but leaning more towards the action side, luckily, because the family dynamic here is just very weak. It just feels very half-baked, because you can tell they wanted to make it way more serious. They wanted to pay way more attention to it, but the runtime just made them unable to do that, so it just felt very half-baked, and that kind of evens it out for me, because when you're not having that big action sequence, or it's not Bob Odenkirk just being very fun to watch on screen, taking out all these bad guys or doing something cool, it's him with his wife or with his kids, where you have this very half-baked, again, very underdeveloped melodrama of him being gone all the time, and it's a very interesting concept when it's first introduced, but by the end, when you have all these things going on, such little time is invested in that wife and husband dynamic, where he's gone all the time and he's trying to spend more time with his wife. Again, it just doesn't work, because it's very underdeveloped, and again, only 29-minute movie. But yeah, so it about evens it out for me. Honestly, if I would pick one to rewatch, now this easily could be recency bias, but I'd probably pick Nobody 2 overall. Even though you do have that very half-baked melodrama, everything else is awesome. Just amps up from the original movie. And yeah, so that's basically my thoughts on both films. Yeah, I like Nobody 2 a little bit better, but again, they are both great. If y'all enjoyed this video or need better content, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.